Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 15 of the Agency Way, a Room 214 weekly Blab series to help marketers learn from subject matter experts within a marketing agency, in addition to guest thought leaders in business and marketing worldwide. Unfortunately, Room 214's Erica Stutzman, my co-host, can't join us today. She is on vacay, which is great. I'm Jason Cormier, the co-founder of Room 214, a digital and social media marketing agency. Today's featured guest is Ian Cleary, CEO of RazorSocial, and also purveyor of what Inc. magazine recently called one of the top global blogs on internet marketing. And that's at RazorSocial.com. As a recognized social media rock star and featured speaker at this coming Social Media Marketing World Conference in San Diego, I'm really stoked to welcome you to the show today.
Well, thanks very much for having me, Jason. I'm delighted to be on it. So it's great to connect again.
Awesome. And before we hit the record button on this, Ian and I actually connected a long time ago. I was traveling to Dublin where he is to see a U2 concert, and we'd connected on LinkedIn or something. And he was actually kind enough to pick me and my wife up from the airport, and we got to have lunch with them. And back then, I'll just say your business and what you were doing. And this kind of leads me to my first question. I'd say, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your background and how you went from what I would call the inquisitive learner when I first met you back in the day to what I would call you now to be a marketing powerhouse today.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, it's just, I suppose when I met you first, Jason, I was running an agency here in Ireland for social media training. And I just had this itch that I really wanted to do something on a more international level. So I was reaching out to experts in the industry like yourself that were highly respected, running great agencies, and just connecting and networking with people. And it was great the time you came over because it was just to get a feel for, what were the opportunities in the US and build a network. So I suppose it was June 2011 was the first time I went then to a trip to the US. I went to a networking event there to meet with a lot of social media professionals. And then I launched a blog focused mainly on social media tools. And it was just good timing. And I think there was a gap in the market for more technical related content related to social media. So the blog grew quite well. And then over time, we just built a training business, an online training business. So at the moment, I'm based in my office here at the end of the garden in Dublin, but most of my customers are international, which is fun,
Yeah, very cool. That's awesome. Well, of course, I've spent time on your website, on your blog, so much great information. And I know one of the things that you put forward for people as part of training, and really a lot of the kind of things that you talk about and write about, is this idea of your prism process. Which refers to people, relationships, inbound traffic, subscribers, and monetization. So that's the acronym. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. I mean, I suppose when I started the blog, over 4 years ago, and, I really had no idea how to make money out of it, so I just focused on building traffic, building subscribers, building a network. And that was all great. It was going fantastic, but I wasn't making any money out of it. So I was still relying on the business in Ireland. So then when I start figuring out, well, how do you actually make money from social media and, a whole process, I put it into a process to make it easier for people to understand, and it's great engaging on social media. And yes, you can meet people and build relationships, but at the end of the day, people don't spend money on social media channels. So if you want people to spend money, you're generally going to have to either get them on the phone or Skype them or bring people over to your website. And then from your website, you go, what's the next stage? So you start P for people, you build an audience on different channels like social media channels. Then you look at relationships with people because people are not going to take action unless you form relationships. Now, if you want to form relationships at scale, content is one of the best ways because you provide useful, valuable content that people implement in their business, get value from you. So you're forming a relationship. And the other side is then identifying key influencers in the industry. And that's why I reached out to you, Jason, was going, there's a key influencer. I want to build relationships with these people. So picking you up from the airport helps, and then I for inbound traffic. So you build relationships and then you try and bring people to your site. So that's the inbound traffic part. But when people come to your site, they're generally not ready to buy. So you want to strengthen that relationship, and you build that over time. So building a subscriber list is great. Like building email subscribers is still very important. I have subscribers and social retargeting, because if people are not prepared to subscribe via email, well, you can still capture their details and then retarget, on the likes of Facebook. And then M for monetization. So it's actually building out sales funnels. You've done a lot of work already to get to this stage, but you still need to build out sales funnels to help people move from, being an email subscriber, for example, to being a customer. So there's a few components in it, and sometimes people go, wow, that's a lot. Well, unfortunately, that's what we have to do to get our sales, but we can build that process over time. So you can keep adding to it and keep on improving it,
Yeah, absolutely. I know that even just going to your website, you've got a call to action, with the enticement of building a marketing engine. And I go on that call to action. You asked me for my first name, my email address, in exchange for a PDF, some great content I can download. Immediately after that, I see a video of you. And, so I really appreciate the process that you're using to continue, pull your audience in. I click on the video, I listen to you, and now there's another call to action where you're saying, hey, learn more about the webinar, where you can really get a bunch of more great information. PDF's one thing, but the webinar is even more. And I would say you're even following best practices, like, so your face is on the video, you're talking, and underneath the video is the big button that I'm supposed to push for the next call to action. And you are pointing, push the button here, which is, people in marketing, people need arrows. They need people pointing at things and stuff like
it's that. So easy. People just miss things. But I mean, I miss things, so you're looking at a web page, you look at it quite quickly, you're rushing off to do something else. So when somebody goes, that's it, just there, well, then people move and click on it, so you need to encourage people. All right. Yeah. But that's part of the process. And that could have been people coming from Twitter, for example. When they come from Twitter, they don't come from Twitter generally and go, oh, that's a great product, I'll buy it. Whereas if they go from Twitter and they go, well, actually, there's a great guide, I'm really interested, I'll sign up for this. And maybe this webinar is going to be interesting. And then on the webinar, there'll be an opportunity to buy our product,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ian, in addition to the processes and kind of this methodology through Prism that you go through, obviously you are steeped in the tools of social media and content marketing. And I noticed on your website, you've even categorized a ton of them according to particular social network or function, so such as SEO or social media monitoring. And so I'd be curious to know, what tools have you been talking about most lately? Which ones are exciting to you?
There's one called Conversion Fly, which I really like. Now it's a relatively new product. It's still in beta, so they haven't rolled it out fully. And there's still a few bugs and issues, as usual products in beta. But Conversion Fly is all about tracking every stage of the funnel. So it tracks if you have, somebody comes to an opt-in page, and the next page, the next page, the next page, it'll track every stage. So it's like Google Analytic goals, except much more advanced tracking than that. So I really like that as a tool from when you go from the email subscribers to the monetization section. They're great tools there. That's a particularly exciting tool. I do like, there's V-Roll. I've been looking at V-Roll recently as a video marketing tool that allows you to create videos for uploading to Facebook or YouTube. And it just takes the hassle out of creating videos because it has all sorts of video templates and stuff. And one really neat piece of functionality in V-Roll is I can do a search in V-Roll on YouTube based on keywords, and it'll produce me a whole list of videos that accept ads. Then I can take that and then I can create an ad targeted specifically to those videos. For example, if you want a pre-roll ad before anything comes on, it gives you the whole list. So that's a fantastic tool as well. There's a whole range. Yeah. I was looking at SEMrush today as one of my favorite from an SEO perspective of for example, doing an analysis of your competitors. SEMrush will show you the top keywords that your competitor is ranking for content. And that's going to give you good ideas for content on your own site. And it gives estimates of traffic that's been generated to competitor sites. And so lots of really useful information. So a whole range of tools, you know.
Yeah, very cool. And just out of curiosity, I wonder, what is the technology you're using to power your own website, from the pop-ups or other features on RazorSocial.com?
Yeah, so we do Opt-in Monster we use for the pop-up. So we have a combination. We use Lead Pages for some of the landing pages. We use Opt-in Monster. I think that's a great tool for building pop-ups and any sort of opt-ins and everything. It's very easy to split test. There's great analytics on it. Very easy to set up. So I really like that tool. We would use Ontraport is our automation tool. So for marketing automation, we evaluated InfusionSoft and compared it to Ontraport. InfusionSoft is a great tool, but it's a lot more complex to use. And I think over the last 2 years, Ontraport have built out a lot of good functionality. So they're really catching up with InfusionSoft. So now, you know, I wouldn't move to InfusionSoft at this stage, whereas a year ago I would have considered it. And like one of the functionality that recently brought out with InfusionSoft or with Ontraport is integration with Facebook for building custom audiences. So I can say, you know, if you know certain people clicked on certain buttons on my site, Ontraport can create a custom audience in Facebook for it, and that's really powerful functionality. You know?
Yeah, no doubt. That's so interesting. I think I want to say InfusionSoft was maybe one of the earliest players I knew of. You know, guys like Perry Marshall and you know, a lot of the early marketing automation guys that were messing around with Aweber and some of the more sophisticated email programs, I think migrated over to InfusionSoft. And so it's interesting to know that you evaluated that. What about did by any chance you take a look at HubSpot or Acton or any of those?
Well, I did briefly look at them. I mean, they were a lot more expensive solutions. So I mean, and I focused at the time Ontraport was $297 a month. You know, a HubSpot was always going to be, you know, at least double that. Plus, you're going to end up paying consultancy and all sorts. Ontraport had this offer, and I'm not sure if they still do it, where you got for $297, you got 2 free hours to get set up and running, and it seemed quite simple to get up and running. So,
yeah. Well, I think your site does a great job of, you know, using that automation. I like how you, even through the video, you know, you do a good job at prepping. Hey, you're going to receive a few emails from me, which is nice. I mean, in one respect, it's kind of expected anyway, but still, in today's world of content marketing and the collection of email addresses, I think people are really appreciative when they don't feel like they're just getting bum rushed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, kind of turning the page here away from the tool conversation, you know, a huge focus of your business is training. And now that you've really established yourself as one who's an international consultant working with all kinds of businesses, I'm curious as to what's your most common recommendation these days for businesses wanting to, whether it's taking their social media or their content marketing to the next level. Maybe how do they begin with you, and what do you find yourself really emphasizing when you go in at a consulting capacity?
Yeah, I mean, it is Prism, actually. It's understanding that full process from start to finish, because, you know, I was working with a large organization recently and they didn't have the funnel side of things sorted. So doing lots of activity on social media and activity on the website, but not really understanding all that landing page stuff, the email nurturing at the back end, and all the sequencing. So I tell people to take out Lucid Charts, which is a good charting tool, and just start drawing boxes. You know, that's the easiest way to explain it. It's like somebody comes into the website, well, what are the options for them to do, and what's the sequence after that? So I think it's, you know, it's great creating a piece of content, but a piece of content you create, its purpose is to bring people to the next stage of the funnel. You know, so it could be, oh, I've never heard of you before. So it's a piece of content that's going to, at least people know about you. And when they know about you, then you go, okay, that drives people to your site. And then you go, oh, here's an opt-in to move to the next stage of the funnel. So you're always thinking, so it's content creating content in a strategic way and understanding that funnel process. And that makes a big difference in revenue. I think I said at the start of the year, one of the predictions was that the content marketers and social media people will start, they'll want to learn as much as possible of the funnel people. Because we have these sales funnel guys and we have these social media content marketers. Well, the skills have to match over. The funnel people are moving more towards content. The content and social media people need to move more towards the funnels,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so spot on. I mean, I know even we are spending a great deal of time these days in the workshop environment. And so, for example, putting together demand generation workshops where we get marketing people and sales people in the same room. And, this gets into revenue alignment, whatever buzzword you want to use. But the bottom line is you're basically trying to map out what is the customer journey or the buyer's journey. And so to your point about, where are your potential prospects, or if you want to get deeper, personas, where are they in the buying stage? And how are you going about producing content that's actually valuable to them at each area of the buyer's stage so that you can pull them along and that relationship is essentially built over time that, before they even talk to you, perhaps they're 90% in on the fact that they want to work with you.
Yeah. And I think that just mapping out what content you have and what pieces you're missing, when you actually put it down to a chart saying, for example, awareness, consideration, decision, you might go, well, actually, we have lots of content at the awareness stage, but for when people want to make a decision, we don't have enough content. So I think when you map that out for people go, wow, now I know where I'm missing, what content I should be creating, what I'm missing. But I think thinking about content, moving people along the funnel with each piece of the content is a good way of thinking about it, rather than going, I'm just going to create a piece of content because people said I should be creating content,
Yeah, right. And I feel like, there was this wave of social media cheerleaders, if you will, people that were just, there was such a huge conversation about, why social media is something that's going to be here forever. And it's a cocktail party and, all these books and stuff. And I appreciate all that conversation. But I really believe that we're at a point now where marketers have said, okay, I don't really want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk about how does social media and then all this discussion around content actually grow my business. Yeah. And so it's good for me to hear you talk about this because, we have our own ideas at the agency here and, you're sitting over there in Dublin basically saying, yeah, this is where it's going. At the end of the day, people do want a return on their investment.
I don't think as a social media agency, just in the social media side of things is not enough. The customers, like you say, are going to go, well, it's great having all this conversation, but we have to get business. So it's that understanding that link. And it's not a case of social media is not valuable. It's understanding where that value lies and how you move people through that funnel.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly, social media, when you look at the value of it, you could talk about how it can be used for product innovation or how it can be used for customer service. It's not just a sales discussion, but certainly the greater discussion around content these days seems like, people want to grow their business and how social fits into that. You start getting into the buyer's journey and what kind of content makes sense at the right time for the right people.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, time flies when you're having fun, right? Yeah. Well, Ian, real quick, I know we gotta head out soon, but tell me a little bit about what you're talking about at the conference at Social Media World in San Diego. It's I guess like a week from now, right?
Yeah, it's about a week and a half. I generally do a tools content. So, but basically, what I talk about is here's some changes you can make to your online marketing directly related to social media. And here's suggested tools you can use. So at least people can walk away and go, because there's always different tools you can use. So these are good tools we recommend, but at least we say, well, here's something you can do to make a change in your business that's going to make it better in terms of the results you get from social media. Here's a suggested tool. So that's the way I focus on it, So yeah, it's always a good event. So yeah, you're not going yourself, Jason.
It's silly that I'm not going to be there. And I'll just tell you, I've been working on a book. The agency's growing, and a bunch of other excuses. But man, I'm bummed. The more I think about it, the more I wish I'd just buy a ticket and go.
Well, agency growing, busy. That's all okay. Making more
Yeah.
revenue, so that's okay.
Cool. Well, Ian, thanks again, man. So totally appreciate your time today. It's also just good to, talk to you after all these years of not seeing you. So really appreciate that. Hey, to close us out, book recommendation of the week. I held this up a little bit earlier, Content Inc. So Joe Polizzi, this is Content Inc., how entrepreneurs use content to build massive audiences and create radically successful businesses. I had the opportunity to meet Joe a couple months ago. Great book, powerful individual. Quote of the week: maybe stories are just data with a soul. That's Brene Brown. And our nonprofit shout out of the week goes to givehopeglobal.org. Their main focus is on supporting 2 orphanages in Haiti, an amazing all volunteer organization that I've had the privilege to serve with as well. Thanks again so much, everybody, for joining today. As a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at room_214. You can also subscribe to our email newsletter by going to room214.com/blog. Please message me on Twitter at Jason Cormier if you'd like to be a guest on our show or have any feedback for making it better. We've got best-selling author and content marketer Brian Carter joining us next Thursday. He'll also be at Social Media World, 11:30 Mountain Time. On behalf of everyone at Room 214, thank you again for joining us on another episode of The Agency Way.